Part 45. Adorable Baby, The Miracle Doctor is So Awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 441. The closer he got to Kunling Island, the more uneasy Shen Yizi felt. I wonder how Qingbao and the others are doing. Gu Swiding rubbed his chin on the top of her hair a few times. Don't worry, leave it to me when the time comes. He is confident that he can coax Qingbao and others into good hands. It was another matter that made him feel very unsure. Soon, he will meet Zizi's father, his father-in-law. What will his father-in-law do to him then? Will you be dissatisfied with him? Zizi, tell me more about my father-in-law. Shen Yizi couldn't help laughing when he saw him looking like he was facing a formidable enemy, and touched his face. My father is very easy to get along with, and he will never make things difficult for you. Besides, we all have Qingbao. How about you? Are you afraid that my father will break us up? However, Gu Swiding was not comforted by these words. It was precisely because of Qingbao that he was even more worried. After all, he had this child with her during a seizure in the Magic City. For the next 3 years, he didn't know about the existence of their mother and son, and he never fulfilled any of his father's responsibilities. Not to mention his father-in-law, he himself could not forgive himself for being like this. While the two were talking, Kunling Island arrived. Shen Yizi formed a hand seal, and the barrier on the island opened, and Xiao Man flew in with the two of them. The moment you enter, the barrier behind you automatically closes. As the person who set up the barrier, Shen Jiangan can sense the situation on this side of the barrier at all times. Shen Yizi's return made him happy. But why is there still a man? Are you still so close to Yubao? What is the situation with the man? Is it possible that he is Qingbao's father? Having guessed this possibility, Shen Jiangan immediately lost his composure. Transmission message to Shen Yizi, don't come back in a hurry. I told Qingbao and the others that you went to catch big fish in the sea. You go catch a few big fish first, so as not to have trouble getting along with Qingbao and the others. Shen Yizi took Gu Swiding to catch fish. Before entering the water, Gu Swiding released Xiao Man and let him move freely on the island. Before leaving, Xiaoman lowered his lower body and rubbed his head close to Shen Yizi, very intimately. The world under the sea is colorful, quiet but lively. This is Gu Swiding's first time entering the sea, and everything in the sea is new to him. Shen Yizi took him for a spin in the sea and introduced him to various rare seafood on land. The two of them had a bit of fun, and it was already dark when they came out. But this time they were lucky. Not only did they catch the rare croaker, but they also touched abalone shells. Cutfish is a large fish with 1 head and 10 bodies. The fish meat is tender and cool, with a faint orchid fragrance, and it tastes great. Even people like Shen Yizi, who has lived on the island for more than 10 years, have only eaten it twice. Thinking about those two experiences now, her mouth watered. Abalone shells are as big as a wash basin. There is a long and thick piece of flesh outside the shell. It is stretchable, but it cannot be retracted into the shell. Instead, it drags out like an elephant trunk. It is 3 or 4 inches long. 10 centimeters. This piece of elephant trunk meat is very delicious and easy to prepare. Cut it off, run it through boiling water, peel off the rough wrinkled skin on the outside, then cut it into thin slices and stir fry it for about 10 times and it will be almost cooked. It tastes a little crispy and a little tough, a bit like chicken gizzards, and is best used with wine. This time, the two of them returned home with a full load. After arriving at the valley in a sky boat, Shen Yizi led Gu Swiding and walked inside. The two of them were each worried in their own way. They didn't speak for a while, they just held each other's hand tightly. The lights in the valley were all on, and the trees and grass were all bright. In the pavilion, Qingbao seemed to sense something. He suddenly looked out and saw his father and mother walking together. "Dad, Mother," Qingbao rushed out like a cannonball. Yuanbao and Nian Nian are not far behind either. Shen Yizi and Gu Swiding both knelt down, opened their arms, took the three little babies rushing towards them into their arms, and kissed each one a few times. Hold the babies' milky little bodies again, Shen Yizi sighed with satisfaction. This is the first time I have been separated from them for so long, and I really miss her so much. However, compared to her, Qing and Bao were obviously more enthusiastic about Gu Swiding. He was tired of being with him, chirping and asking questions. Shen Yizi couldn't help but feel a little jealous. Mom came back with a big fish, look. She took out the fish, which was still alive. When it came out, 10 fish bodies jumped and flapped together. Qingbao, wow, what a big fish. Yuanbao, why does this fish have 10 bodies? Nian Nian, a lot of meat. This one is roasted, this one is boiled, this one is made into meatballs, this one is fried. 10 fish bodies were arranged by her. It is indeed a snack food. Shenji Ungan, Yubeo, go cook, boy, come here. The joyful time of reunion has passed, and the tense trial has arrived. Shen Yizi gave Gu Swiding a comforting and encouraging look, don't be afraid, I'm here. Gu Swiding stood up, his right leg was occupied by Qingbao, his left leg was held by Yuanbao, and there was Nian Nian lying on his back. He just walked into the stone pavilion step by step with 3 little meat sticks. Shen Yizi gave his father a look and asked him to understand for himself, and then took the ingredients to the wooden house to process them. Shenji Ungan received her look and snorted in his heart. Sure enough, the girl was outgoing, as if she was afraid that he would bully the person she brought back. Looking at Gu Swiding's eyes, he became increasingly dissatisfied. Once he is dissatisfied, the pressure released from him becomes heavier. They pressed towards Gu Swiding one by one. However, Gu Swiding stepped forward without changing his expression and kowtowed without hesitation, my son-in-law, Gu Swiding, pays homage to my father-in-law. Kneel down to the sky and kneel to your parents. Apart from this, Gu Swiding has never even knelt before the emperor. However, at this moment, he is willing to kneel down to the man in front of him. King Bao and King Bao thought he was playing some kind of game with Shenji Ungan, so they all knelt down and imitated him. Shenji Ungan. The tense expression on his face almost ruined his performance. Trying to show the majesty of a grandfather, Qingbao, go and see if mother's fish is ready. Qingbao and the others looked at him, then at Gu Swiding, who was kneeling. Finally, they succumbed to the temptation of delicious food and ran out of the pavilion. When the 3 young ones came out of the pavilion, Shenjiang snorted coldly and continued to increase the pressure. Gu Swiding's originally straight back was bent under the pressure. He gritted his teeth and slowly straightened up, not wanting to look down on Shenji Ungan. I don't know how long it took, but Shenji Ungan gave up the pressure and said, okay, get up, lest Yubeo sees me and thinks I'm bullying you. Gu Swiding lowered his head and said, thank you, father-in-law. Changed from kneeling to sitting cross-legged under Shenji Ungan's head. The word father-in-law sounded really harsh to Shenji Ungan, but for Qingbao's sake, he had to admit it. Are you poisoned? Gu Swiding didn't expect that this was what he asked the first time. He was slightly stunned, and then nodded, yes. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 442. After saying this, he felt it was inappropriate. This was in front of his father-in-law, not his subordinates. Gu Swiding added, this poison was brought from my mother's womb. I had the first attack when I was 8 years old. Whenever I get emotional later, there will be heartbreaking pain, and if it is severe, you may even lose your mind. He paused and lowered his voice, I offended Zizi during the attack 4 years ago, in the following 3 years, I failed to fulfill my responsibilities as a father and husband, even though my father-in-law punished me. He lowered his head and waited for Shen Jianghan's reaction, like a prisoner waiting for trial. I have never been as nervous as I am now. Shen Jianghan snorted coldly, punishment? To put it lightly, if I really did something to you, Yu Bao would be the first to refuse. The words were filled with a strong smell of sour vinegar. That's all, for the sake of Qingbao and the others, I'll let you off for the time being, but if you do anything to make Yi Bao sad in the future, I will cause your soul to perish, and you won't even have the chance to be reincarnated. Shen Jianghan said this calmly, but the chill in his words showed his attitude. Gu Swiding was silent, but still told him the fact. Zhi and I have concluded a lifelong contract. The contract of living together, living and dying together, and the souls and souls depend on each other. What, Tong Sheng did? Shen Jianghan's shock was no small matter. He was so powerful that he almost shattered the roof of the stone pavilion. Gu Swiding stretched out his hand and revealed the Tongsheng contract ring that was usually hidden. Looking at the ring, Shen Jianghan felt very complicated. I couldn't help but feel a little bit dissatisfied with Gu Swiding. As a monk with unlimited possibilities, his willingness to tie his life to another person is enough to prove how serious his feelings for Yu Bao are. But the problem comes again. If something unexpected happens to him one day, wouldn't it involve Yu Bao? The meaning expressed in Shen Jianghan's eyes was so obvious that Gu Swiding understood it instantly and immediately made a promise. Don't worry, father-in-law, I won't let anything happen to me. I will also watch Qingbao and the others grow up, and spend the rest of my life with Gigi. Experience all the scenery in this world with her. When Shen Yizi came, he heard this sentence. Shen Jianghan raised his head and saw the moved look on the girl's face outside the pavilion, and glanced at Gu Swiding coolly. This guy is so scheming. Could it be that he spotted Yu Bao coming and happened to tell her what to say? He really wronged Gu Swiding for thinking this way. Firstly, he really didn't notice Shen Yizi coming over. Secondly, there was no need for him to do this. After all, with the relationship between him and Shen Yizi, why do they need to use such small tricks? If you want to talk about love, you have to say it in front of Shen Yizi, right? Shen Yizi walked into the pavilion and went straight to Shen Jianghan, holding his arm and saying, Dad, what did you and Xueting talk about? Shen Jianghan glanced at her, half smiling but not smiling, which made Shen Yizi feel a little uncomfortable. Gu Swiding took the initiative and said, My father-in-law asked me about the magic poison. Dad, you have so many magical powers, you must have a way to deal with the magic poison, right? Shen Yizi looked at Shen Jianghan hopefully. Shen Jianghan sighed, speaking of which, I was the one who created this devilish poison back then. The reincarnation of heaven has finally been counterattacked today. As soon as his words came out, Shen Yizi and Gu Swiding were shocked. Dad, what did you say? Did you create this poison? Shen Jianghan recalled the past lightly. At that time, I got a treasure, which was coveted by all forces. They all wanted to take it away from me. Humph, how could I let them get their wish? I was furious. And the evil poison was brought out. I didn't expect that the evil poison would still cause trouble to this day. Shen Yizi, Dad, since you are the one who created the poison, then you must have a way to get rid of it. Shen Jianghan remained silent. Shen Yizi's heart skipped a beat. Dad, don't make fun of me. Although he was unwilling to admit it, Shen Jianghan still had to speak. Although I was the one who made the poison, at the beginning, I only thought about killing those who came to the treasure, and I never thought about detoxifying them. What's more, after so many years of evolution, the poison's toxicity has changed a lot. Seeing that the atmosphere became dull, Shen Jianghan touched Shen Yizi's head. However, although I can't completely detoxify it, I can suppress it. Shen Yizi asked urgently, how to suppress it? Shen Jianghan forced out a little blood essence from his fingertips and dipped it into the center of Gu Swiding's eyebrows. Okay, Now I have suppressed the demon poison in your body, but it can only be suppressed for 3 years. If you still can't find the antidote after 3 years, you will probably fall into the devil's path, Shenji Ungan told Gu Switting Road. The pavilion fell into silence for a moment. At this time, Nian Nian came over and said, Aunt Chen, the water in the pot is boiling. Shen Yazi stood up, Dad, sit with Switting for a while, dinner will be ready soon. She returned to the kitchen. The fish soup in the pot had turned milky white. Half an hour later, Shen Yazi, followed by a group of children, returned to the stone pavilion and took out the prepared dishes one by one from the space. This is a whole fish feast, fried, deep-fried, boiled, stir-fried, steamed, braised and stewed, and all the ingredients used come from that fish. The main course is fish head stewed with tofu. It takes 10 fish bodies to fit one head. You can imagine how big this fish head is. It cannot fit in an ordinary pot. Shen Yazi knew that the pottery helmet used to hold the dishes was a pottery helmet. The helmet is an oval-shaped container with 2 ears, like a small boat. The moment the lid is opened, a rich and delicious aroma rushes out, white mist fills the air, and a complete fish head lies inside, milky white. The soup is mixed with tender tofu. The other dishes surround the main course, surrounding it in the center. The color, smell, and taste both give people a huge impact. Faced with such delicious food, there is no need to say any nonsense, eat first as a sign of respect. After dinner, Shenji Ungan picked his teeth and said, Xingzhou, you stay and play 2 games of chess with me. Playing chess is fake, leaving Gu Switting to prevent him from being alone with Shen Yazi is real. Shen Yazi saw through his father's thoughts at a glance. He looked at Gu Switting and his eyes conveyed, coax my father well. Gu Switting responded respectfully, yes. Before leaving, Shen Yazi turned around again and took out a few plates of snacks, braised duck tongue, fish with red glutinous rice, sauced lamb, scallops and radish balls, and placed them on the small table. Dad, if you are hungry while playing chess, just eat. Get something to lay your head on, and I'll take Qingbao and the others to bed. Well, let's go. Shenji Ungan had already begun to fall and didn't even raise his head when he heard the words. After giving Qingbao and the others a bath and coaxing them to sleep, Shen Yazi thumped his waist and fell directly onto the soft bed. Every time Qingbao and the 3 of them were given a bath, it was like a big battle. After washing, she just wanted to lie down quietly for a while and think about life. In fact, she didn't bathe them every day, but directly used the cleaning spell. With one spell, the mud and dust on their bodies were gone. But this time she was separated from them for a full month, so she wanted to wash them with her own hands and have some loving mother-child interaction. However, when it came time to do it, she wanted to knock the 3 little lunatics out and tuck them into the quilt. When she didn't see them, all she thought about was how cute they were, but when she actually saw them, she felt that she should come back later. Rolling on the couch, she put her hands on her chin and looked at the starry sky outside the window. I don't know when Gu Switting will be released by his father. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 443. Fei Fei called out to Shen Yazi. Jiao Xiao jumped into her arms, and gently brushed her cheek with his soft and fluffy tail, tickling her. Shen Yazi stroked its soft and silky hair several times, and fed it dried small fish. Although Fatty is a cat, his habits are very similar to those of a cat. He likes to eat fish and lie down lazily basking in the sun. Most of the time, she is like a quiet little fairy. After feeding a few, Shen Yazi suddenly remembered, wondering what happened to Yu and the others after they were excluded from the secret realm. She took out the photo stone, opened it, and found several messages on it. Sisters Hizzy, my brother, and I were teleported to Sanzu Island and have now returned to Chunshui Mansion. When will you and brother-in-law Gu come back? Chunshui House is her villa in Yufu City. Maybe he didn't receive a reply, so Kuiyu sent a few more messages one after another, his tone becoming more and more worried. Sisters Hizzy, where are you now? Why haven't you replied to me? Is something wrong? Sisters Hizzy. The child was probably frightened. Shenyazi hurriedly replied to her, we have gone home. Nothing happened. We just didn't pay attention to the image stone before, so you are tired of worrying. Kuiyu replied instantly, Sisters Hizzy, just hope you're okay. I also said that if you don't get back to me, my brother and I will go find you. The two chatted for a while, and Kuiyu asked, are Nian and the others sleeping? Can you let me see them? Shenyazi recorded a video of the three children sleeping like little pigs and sent it to Kuiyu. Kuiyu saw it and was immediately satisfied. Shenyazi, it's getting late, go to bed early. Good night. Sisters Hizzy, good night to you and brother-in-law Gu, 2-0, by the way, I'm afraid you won't be able to settle down, hee. Kuiyu smiled evilly and hung up the photo stone. Shenyazi was funny. This little girl must have thought of something inappropriate for children. The next moment, she carried Fei into the space. Let's go play. She put down the fat. Fei has been to the space many times and is already familiar with it. He walked towards the already thick peach tree in a familiar way, jumped on the tree and lay down on a branch. Sweeping the tail, the peach petals fell one after another. Shenyazi raised the photo stone and recorded this beautiful scene. A golden book floated over. Kinkai got out of the book and squatted on the cover. Are you still in the mood to play? The mission time is about to end. Do you want to do it? Shenyazi put away the shadow stone, found a reclining chair, lay down, spread the trial manual on his knees, turned to the attribute page, and checked his various conditions. Lord of the trial, Shenyazi. Appearance, you are still far from the true appearance of an immortal. Cultivation level, 9th level of Qi refining, weak chickens can't explain it. Skills, medical skills, intermediate plus, pharmaceutical skills, intermediate plus, formation, elementary, drawing talisman, elementary, alchemy, elementary. Points, 4050. Merit, 30,000. Trial mission, first level. By the first level of space within 1 year, there are still 3 hours before the end of the mission. How did these 30,000 merits come from? Oh, by the way, she had previously eliminated the plague, poison, and prevented the death of a whole city. According to the exchange ratio between merit and points, these 30,000 merits are 3 million points. Shenyazi asked, how many points are needed for the first level? Kinkai stretched out her little hoof and drew 2 circles on the property page. The big circle was within the small circle. About 1/3 of the annular area between the 2 circles was marked red. This red area is what you have bought. How many remaining points do you think you need? Shenyazi frowned, I spent more than 2 million points before, and I only bought this small area. Kinkai rolled his eyes, what if? Shenyazi originally estimated that this mission could be completed, but he didn't expect that there was still so much left. However, she was not too generous, so if she couldn't do it, she borrowed the boundary bead from Qingbao's hand and put it on top first, and then returned one to him later. The small world that Qingbao inherited from his master Zhang Chanyu is no smaller than Liwang's, and the boundary beads are worth at least 2 million points. First convert the 20,000 merit into points. Merit may come in handy at some point, so it's better to keep some of it. The exchange was completed instantly, and Shenyazi immediately invested all his points in the purchase of space land. In the circle, the red color began to spread to the surroundings, and reflected to the outside, the space of the God Emperor Pearl was expanding outwards, and the sky was rising, becoming higher and higher. This process lasted about 5 seconds. There is only about 1/5 of the blank space left in the ring, which is the part to be bought. Shenyazi did not touch the remaining merits, but moved the mountain of spiritual jade and dozens of spiritual crystals harvested in the secret realm in front of him. He also brought the sun tempering bowl, and first threw the spiritual jade into the bowl to temper it, making the spiritual jade more pure. The quality of these spiritual jade is already good enough, with rich spiritual energy and crystal clear jade quality, but it still contains traces of impurities. After being tempered in the sun tempering bowl, the spiritual jade that was taken out was perfect. Although the size has become smaller, the points that can be redeemed are much more. For example, a piece of spiritual jade weighing 1 pound, calculated as 10 taels, can be exchanged for 1,000 points. After tempering, it is only 8 taels, but it can be exchanged for 1,500 points. Increased by half. Shenyazi summoned the puppets Si, Wu, and Lu, and asked them to be responsible for the mechanical work of throwing the spirit jade into the sun-quenching bowl for tempering and then taking it out. She only needed to take the spirit jade and throw it into the trial manual page. That's it. The page was like a water mirror, silently swallowing the spiritual jade she threw into it. Convert them into points simultaneously and buy the land directly. Okay, Kinkai responded cheerfully. An hour later, the spirit jade was basically consumed, leaving only a dozen kilograms that she had specially left behind. On the page, the ring area has been completely occupied by red, and a quarter of the inner circle has been destroyed. After swallowing so much of my spiritual jade, there is still such a big void. Shenyazi felt heartbroken just thinking about it. But in order not to be obliterated, she had to continue to invest in it. Next, it's the spiritual crystal's turn. These spiritual crystals are each worth a city. Shenyazi gritted his teeth and threw one in with a cruel heart. As a result, the red color only spread a small area to the side. She had no choice but to keep throwing it in. By the time there was only the last spiritual crystal left, about 1/10 of the area of the inner circle was still blank. Have you made a mistake? Shenyazi scratched his hair and roared feebly for a while. Looking at the pitiful piece of spiritual jade and the last spiritual crystal in front of him, Shenyazi turned his attention to the remaining 10,000 merit points. Let's redeem another 9,000 merit points. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 444. 900,000 points. The inner circle is basically occupied by red, but there is still a blank space. Exchange another 500. The line became a line. Shenyazi, it's so difficult for me. You can decide how much more you need. As soon as Shenyazi finished speaking, the row of merit values immediately turned into a lonely 0. However, there is still a trace of blank space on the circle. Shenyazi covered his chest, suppressed the urge to vomit blood, and threw the last piece of spiritual jade and spiritual crystal into the page. Staring nervously. When the blank space in the circle disappeared, she let out a long breath. The mission is finally completed. The entire first level of space is unlocked. Shenyazi reached out with his spiritual consciousness and couldn't touch the edge at all. She jumped onto the sky boat and kept going up. She climbed several thousand meters before reaching the top. At this time, she could see the entire space. Her feeling can be summed up in one word: big. So big. This area is probably equivalent to the area of several first-tier cities in previous lives. Such a large piece of land belongs entirely to her. Shenyazi's heart was racing, and he wished he could do some somersaults in the air like Sun Wukong. The original piece of land was not even 1/10 of the entire land. Only one corner is occupied. Shenyazi controlled the sky boat to descend. When it descended to a height of several hundred meters, she found a door standing in the center of the space. That door is similar to an ordinary door, but it has no place in front of or behind it. It is just a door standing there alone. Could this be the door to the second dimension? Shenyazi guessed in his heart and said it with his mouth. Kayaki, that's right, but you can only go up when you complete the second mission. The second mission, what is it? The trial manual floated in front of her, and what was displayed in front of her was the updated attribute page. Lord of the Trial, Shenyazi. Appearance, you are still far from the true appearance of an immortal. Cultivation level, 9th level of Qi refining, weak chickens can't explain it. Skills, medical skills, intermediate plus, pharmaceutical skills, intermediate plus, formation, elementary, drawing talisman, elementary, alchemy, elementary. Merit, 0. Trial mission, 2nd level, collect 10 artifacts within 1 year. Currently, we have collected the Eternal Burning Cauldron, the Star-Shattering Hammer, the Sun-Tempering Bowl, and the Mountain and River Mirror. Collect 10 artifacts in 1 year, are you kidding me? You have already collected 4 pieces. If you work harder, you will be able to complete the task soon. Kinkai winked at her. Shenyazi sighed, what if it fails? If you fail, your memory will be erased, and the God Emperor Pearl will automatically leave and find the next host. Okay, it's much better than failing the first task and being wiped out. What else can she do except accept it? Shenyazi's eyes fell on the door again. Can I push it open and take a look? Before Kinkai could reply, she stretched out her hand and gave it a tentative push. The result was that it opened as soon as I pushed it. The moment Shenyazi stepped through the door, the whole world changed. She was suspended in mid-air, with a blue sea beneath her feet, as pure as a piece of jelly. In front, there is a golden platform high above the water. On the golden platform stands a tripod as tall as a person. It is the ever-burning cauldron. She felt as if she had become in this world. With one step, she came to the golden platform dozens of meters away. As soon as it fell, a second golden platform appeared, with a jade-white hammer on it. The third one is next, with the sun-quenching bowl on top. The fourth one is the mountain and river mirror. There is nothing behind, just endless sea water. It is estimated that only when the fifth artifact is found, the fifth golden platform will appear and she can lead to the next place. Shenyazi came out of the door. Now that there is such a large piece of land, we need to plan it carefully. She decided to utilize this large piece of land according to the shape of the Tai Chi Bagua diagram. The circular area in the middle is Tai Chi, the white Tai Chi fish part, which serves as a place for residence and entertainment and work. The black Tai Chi fish part digs a large lake, which can be used as a water source, to cultivate various aquatic products, and to plant a large lotus. Beyond the Tai Chi diagram is the Bagua area. Plant medicinal materials in Qian position, due north, and Sun position, northeast. Hand, east, orchards were planted. Plant flowers and plants in Zhen position, southeast. Vegetables and grains are grown in Kan position, south. Earthquake, southwest, and departure, west, developed into a grassland, breeding various livestock on it. The last remaining part of the exchange position, northwest, is temporarily vacant. When the time comes, whichever part is not enough will be used to top it up. The general planning is done, and all that is left is to build it step by step. There are only 3 puppets in the space. Although the puppets were very efficient, 3 were still too few. Shenyazi decided to buy a dozen more puppets from the grocery store to help her manage various chores in the space in the future. Just turn over the attribute page and look at the cleared merit values, and... Wait a minute, why is the point item missing? Even if the points are cleared, they are not lost. Kinkai told her, points are your benefits when you are a novice in the trial. Now that you are a qualified trial master, the points system has been cancelled. If you want to buy things in the future, you will have to use spirit stones. The bad news came so unexpectedly. Shen Yizi opened the grocery store page and clicked on the details page of an item. As expected, the prices that came out were no longer based on points, but were all replaced by spirit stones. She can still find a way to get the points, but where can she get the spiritual stones? This world has very thin spiritual energy, and spiritual stones are even rarer, and they are basically in the hands of aristocratic families or cultivating sections. Those forces are only digested internally, and there are no spiritual stones on the market at all. And all the spiritual crystals she deceived from the spiritual crystal beasts have been used up. She is now a naked pauper. How many more do you think you can get from the spirit crystal beast? Haha, the spirit crystal beast giving birth to spirit crystals is not as simple as a hen laying eggs. It needs to eat a large amount of food containing spiritual energy first. When it reaches a certain amount, it will lay eggs. No, it will lay spiritual crystals. To put it bluntly, the spiritual crystal beast actually converts the spiritual food it eats into spiritual crystals. Although this is a fantasy world of cultivating immortals, we still have to follow the conservation of energy. Matter can never be created out of thin air. Think about the terrifying spiritual energy contained in a spiritual crystal, and you will know how huge the amount of spiritual food that needs to be accumulated is. The reason why she was able to pick up a spirit crystal before was just that she happened to catch up with the time when the spirit crystal beast gave birth to the spirit crystal. Normally, the spirit crystal beast is always eating and preparing to give birth to spirit crystals. The dozens of spirit crystals she deceived from the spirit crystal beast were all the spirit crystals the spirit crystal beast had produced since its birth. As for how long the spirit crystal beast has lived, according to it, it has been at least hundreds of years, but it is still a baby. So she couldn't expect it to produce another spiritual crystal in a short time. Bald head. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 445. That's right, Shen Yizi looked at Kinkaio suddenly. I have completed the first task, isn't there any reward? Kinkaio pointed forward with her hoof. You already have such a large and fertile land, what kind of reward do you need? As a human being, don't be too greedy. Shen Yizi stared at it without saying anything. Kinkaio was a little scared by her stare, thinking that she actually completed the first task within the specified time limit, and also completed nearly half of the second task. She might really become her master in the future. In order to avoid possible dire straits in the future, Kinkaio decided to use public and private interests for her within the scope of his authority. Well, let's do this. I'll help you upgrade the grocery store so that you can sell things there, and you'll get spiritual stones when you sell the things. Kinkaio walked around the trial manual with a seemingly simple but actually mysterious pace. Finally, he stepped twice on the cover and turned the book to the grocery store page. Shen Yizi found that in addition to the dazzling array of products on the page, there was a My Grocery Store icon in the upper right corner. She clicked in, and it showed that the level was level 2, and there was a Build Shelf button. She clicked and built a shelf of her own step by step according to the prompts. The shelves are there, just waiting to put the goods on them. What are you selling? Shen Yizi thought about it for a moment. There were many things she could sell, including the various elixirs, fruits, and flowers cultivated in the space, as well as the delicacies she cooked, the elixirs she refined, and the seals she drew. Taken down in detail, she knows quite a few skills. Are there any restrictions on the types of things that can be sold? She asked Kinkaio. Kayaki, no, but I suggest that you don't sell too many products at the beginning, but focus on selling one type first. When you become famous, you can apply to build more shelves and use your previous reputation to attract customers. That makes sense. Let's sell food first. Shen Yizi is quite confident in the food he makes, not to mention the bonus of the artifact Eternal Burning Cauldron. She took out some of the inventory from the warehouse and put it on the shelves, then started cooking a few big dishes. She put the food directly into the My Grocery Store shelves page. The dishes were swallowed by the page and appeared directly on the shelves in the next moment. After the guest pays the bill, the dishes will be transferred to the guest and can be eaten directly. Simple, convenient, and fast. After serving the dishes, Shenyazi compiled the information about each dish, trying to make the dishes look extremely delicious and attractive, so that people who see them will want to buy them. After finishing it, she confirmed the sale. Her shelves were included in grocery stores and appeared on thousands of shelves. It was the first time he sold something in such a fantasy way. Shenyazi was still a little excited. He stared at his backstage to see if any spiritual stones had arrived. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes have passed. 10 minutes have passed. There was no movement in the background. Same, although her dishes are delicious, no one else knows about them. The aroma of the wine is still in the alley, and there is no publicity. When will she be able to wait for a customer? Shenyazi returned to the homepage of the grocery store and looked at the various products that appeared in rotation, and his heart suddenly moved. Kinkayu, how did you get these things that appear on the homepage? Can you give me one too? Haha, what a beautiful idea you have. These are the advertising spaces that stores spent a lot of spiritual stones on. You want to be recommended without spending a penny. Can't you really be accommodating? Kinkayu thought, I am already accommodating, otherwise you would still be far away from opening the shelves. Otherwise, I will give you 10% of the money I earn, and you will give me a prominent recommendation position. This will be good for both you and me. Kinkayu, humph, do you think I am the kind of weapon spirit who is blind to money? When the master created me, he deeply engraved the attribute of being selfless and unselfish into my soul. You can't even think of taking advantage of such a small favor. I bought it. Shenyazi raised 2 fingers, 20%. I don't think we can't consider this. 30%, if it doesn't work, forget it. Okay, 30%, this is what you said, let's sign an agreement to prevent you from not admitting it when the time comes. After the agreement was signed, Kinkayu immediately assigned the recommendation position to Shenyazi, and it was a big recommendation on the homepage. You can see it as soon as you enter the grocery store, don't be too conspicuous. The above video is a short video of her cooking braised pork. The best parts are all in it. As a chef, she herself is hungry, let alone others. Sure enough, after a while, the background showed that there was a profit. 1 dish of braised pork was sold. 2 dishes of braised pork were sold. 1 dish of braised duck cubes was sold. Hibiscus chicken slices sold 1 dish. Roast mutton, curry chicken, tile fish, jar meat, lion head. The power of advertising is undoubtedly huge. Shenyazi stared at the background, and the dishes on the shelves were disappearing almost at a speed visible to the naked eye. Correspondingly, the spiritual stones in her purse were rising steadily. Because these dishes are made from spiritual materials that are full of spiritual energy, and the kitchen utensils are artifacts such as the ever-burning cauldron, the prices she sets are not cheap. The cheapest shrimp and eggs cost 5 spiritual stones in a bowl. The most expensive Buddha jumps over the wall costs 100 spiritual stones for a bowl. But just now, Buddha jumping over the wall actually sold 1. Shenyazi grabbed Kinkayu and ravaged her hard. Did you see it? What I make is so popular. You can't stop recommending, you know. You also have a share of the money you make. Kinkayu stared at the spirit stones falling into the money bag and nodded. Within a short time, the shelves were less than half empty, and Shenyazi quickly replenished them. At this rate, she will soon be able to save a large amount of spiritual stones. It makes me happy just thinking about it. In this way, can she directly buy the life-extending pill? Shenyazi searched for longevity pills, and when he clicked on them, he found that the pills were sold out. The same goes for good fortune pill. The few pills or spiritual treasures she had searched for that could achieve life-extending effects were all shown to be out of stock. "What are you doing?" Shen Yazi contacted the store owner. "Hello, when will the longevity pill be shipped?" The shopkeeper replied instantly, "I am a master of alchemy. If you want to buy a life-extending pill, I will provide you with at least 10 copies of all the medicinal materials and a working fee of 100,000 spiritual stones." Shen Yazi. At least 10 copies of all medicinal materials. Do you still need 100,000 spirit stones for the work fee? Is the working fee for an alchemy master so expensive? Or is this the case? Shen Yazi didn't understand either, so he couldn't ask rashly. Then he asked carefully, "What is your elixir yield rate? If it's less than 70%, she'd better work her own." Unexpectedly, there was a reply from the other side. "For a life-changing elixir like the life extension pill, if the elixir yield rate can reach 1%, it is very good, and I can make one with 10 ingredients." There was a touch of pride in his tone that could not be ignored. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 446. Shen Yazi's alchemy skills were taught by Yi Chang. Apart from him, he had never been in contact with other alchemists, and he didn't know much about the market in the alchemy circle. Is it really so difficult to make the longevity pill? It is a pity that Yu Chang is in seclusion at this time. According to Qingbao, he is about to shed his skin. This is what he said before he went into seclusion. He also specifically asked Qingbao to send him into the small world to avoid being disturbed by others. Otherwise, you can still find him and ask him. Shen Yazi replied to the alchemy master, "I don't have that many medicinal materials in hand. When I collect them all, I will come to you to make alchemy." "Master, can you give me a discount then?" In fact, she is no longer planning to find this person to make elixirs. After all, the rate of making elixirs is only 10%. But well, he is also a master of alchemy after all. In the alchemy circle, those who can refine pills of the 1st to 3rd levels are called alchemists, those of the 4th to 6th levels are alchemy masters, and those of the 7th to 9th levels are masters. Among them, the 9th level also has a special glorious title Grand Master. Of course, very few people can achieve it. Therefore, an alchemy master is very rare. Naturally, you can't say your rejection too bluntly, otherwise what should you do if you offend others? When the time comes, he goes to the circle to promote her, causing her to be boycotted by the alchemist circle, which will be a huge loss. The other party asked, "How many copies do you have in your hand?" Shen Yazi, 1 share. "How can you refine a portion of medicinal materials? You should prepare at least 7 or 8 portions. Come to me when you have gathered enough medicinal materials. It is impossible to give a discount, but I can give you a bottle of high-grade Bigo pill." High-grade Bigo pill? Shen Yazi had a question mark on his face. She is very proficient in making this thing now. She can make it for 7 or 8 furnaces casually, okay. Most of them are top quality. Why does this alchemy master think that high-grade Bigo pill is something extraordinary? Of course there was more than one shop selling elixirs in the grocery store, so Shen Yazi hooked up with several other shopkeepers. As a result, the bids from each bidder were getting more and more outrageous, and the success rate was even more shockingly low. In comparison, the first store owner was quite kind. The last shopkeeper was quite talkative and chatted with her for a long time. Shen Yazi was interested in learning more about the alchemy circle, so he chatted with him patiently. "Sister, although the life extension pill is only a 5th level elixir, its difficulty is comparable to that of the 6th or even 7th level. It's just because of the checks and balances of heaven that the life-extending pill's life-extending time limit is controlled within 10 years, so its grade is not very high. This most people can't refine elixirs, but if you can get in touch with Grandmaster Yang, it won't be a problem at all. Grandmaster Yang. To be called a great master, this person is definitely a 9th level alchemist. Shen Yizi felt excited. Then how can I contact this Grandmaster Yang? Grandmaster Yang's shop number is 099. You can search it and you'll find it. You can leave a message for him, but whether you can contact him or not depends on your luck. This Grandmaster has always been elusive. There are only 2 forms of shops in the grocery store. The initial form is shelves. When you accumulate more than 4 shelves, you can apply to upgrade to a shop. Once you become a shop, you can have a number. Okay, thank you very much, I'll go try it now. You're welcome. Shen Yizi remembered this man's nickname, I want to become an immortal, and thought we could communicate more in the future, so he sent him a meal to express his gratitude. This is some food I made myself, you can try it. The distant Qingyuan world. In a beautifully decorated cave. I want to become an immortal lay on his back on the stone bed with his legs crossed. Diagonally above his field of vision, a transparent box the size of a book was suspended. On the box, the page of his conversation with the Crystal Exquisite Bag was displayed. Crystal Exquisite Bag is the nickname Shen Yizi gave when registering at the grocery store. It has no special meaning, just because she happened to think of it. Looking at the package displayed on the page, I wanted to reach out my finger and click on it, and the package appeared in reality. The package is a vermilion carved lacquer food box with 3 layers. When you open it, there are 3 dishes on the first layer: braised pork elbow, 8 treasure chicken, and braised yellow croaker. In the middle is a large bowl of crystal clear rice. The second level is a big bowl of soup, radish, and duck soup. The bottom layer contains 4 snacks: honey cake, jade shayamai, wisteria cake, and creamy chestnut noodles. Just looking at it makes one's index finger move. I want to become an immortal didn't feel hungry at first, but smelling the aroma of the food in front of him, his taste buds instantly revived, and he immediately picked up a jade shayamai. This siomai is made very small and delicately, the color is green and lovely, 1 bite at a time, soft and waxy. Tasty. I want to become an immortal immediately took out all the dishes in the food box and put them on the table. Before eating, he specially took a picture of the delicious food on the table in front of him with a photo stone and sent it to his friends. Hee, I'm so greedy for him. Shen Yizi, who is far away in the Tianyuan world, does not know about it. She has searched for shop no 099 and sent a private message to the owner, Grandmaster Yangda. However, after waiting for a long time, there was no movement on the other side. That's right, he is a great master, and he may be busy refining elixirs. How could he keep staring at the backstage of the shop? Kinkayu, help me keep an eye on the background. I'm going to make alchemy. If you have any news, tell me immediately. Okay, let's go. Now Shen Yizi is not only the master of trials, but also someone who can bring him a lot of benefits, so Kinkayu's attitude towards her has become much more pleasant. While Shen Yizi was immersed in alchemy, the delicacies on her shelves set off a frenzy. Dank hung. In a small courtyard isolated from the world. The lights were on in the room, and a slender figure was projected on the window. In the room, a man wearing a loose robe sat behind the desk in front of the window, supporting his chin with one hand and turning the pages of the book with the other hand. He looked a little sad, as if he was tired from reading. He yawned and continued to stare at the page. For those who didn't know, they thought he was studying hard all night long. However, the fact is that the book in front of him is a new storybook on the market. It's too boring. I keep writing about the same stuff, can't there be something new? The man yawned again and continued reading. He has no other hobbies except reading storybooks. Although the storybook was boring, it would be even more boring if he didn't read it, so he had no choice but to continue reading it reluctantly. Xiao Qing, go and make me something to eat. He gave the order without raising his head. In the corner of the room, a narcissus planted in a blue and white porcelain pot took the form of a human. She is a beautiful woman in a white shirt and green skirt, with an elegant temperament. However, as soon as she opens her mouth, people suspect that she has entered the wrong set. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 447. What's for dinner at midnight? The voice was ferocious and evil. But in the end, I went to the kitchen to make a bowl of noodles, brought it in, put it heavily in front of him, and then returned to the flower pot. In a plain white porcelain bowl, there is a pile of noodles, which is so plain that it makes people lose their appetite. Let alone the poached eggs and chopped green onions, he estimated that there might not even be any salt in them. Why is it that the maids of other families can go to the kitchen, wear red sleeves, add fragrance, warm the bed and wash their feet, but this one in his family can't even make a bowl of noodles? He was thrown into doubt more than once. The man stared at the noodles for a while and then picked up his chopsticks. After taking a bite, he silently put down his chopsticks. At this moment, there was a slight vibration from the photo stone in the sleeve. He took it out and clicked it, and a picture of a delicious food appeared in front of him unexpectedly. Compared with the delicious food in this picture, the noodles in front of him are even more unpalatable. I want to become an immortal. Hey, a friend I met by chance gave this to me today. Are you envious? Are you jealous? Do you want to eat it? Yang Shengqing, I think so, send it over. I want to become an immortal. I asked you to refine the Dao Jing Dan last time. Yang Shengqing, I'll practice it for you. I want to become an immortal, the magic pill from last time. Yang Shengqing, I'll practice it for you. Shang's 3 return elixirs from last time. If you keep rambling, I'll die. I was so satisfied that I became an immortal. I sent him a bowl of old duck soup. The dishes were sandwiched with 2 chopsticks, and a small dish was made. Yang Shengqing saw this pitiful wait and once again decided to sever ties with me. However, after tasting the taste of these dishes, he decisively abandoned that idea. Knowing that I wanted to become an immortal, I met the crystal exquisite bag maker in the grocery store. Yang Shengqing summoned the shop. No one knows the origin of this shop, except that it appeared very early. He got it on the day he was upgraded to a 7th level alchemist. At that time, he was still in the Qingyuan world. A transparent panel suddenly appeared in front of him. At that time, he thought that he was too tired from refining alchemy and had hallucinations, or that it was a prank by someone powerful. But after contacting it, he found out that it was not true. This grocery store actually existed. This thing is worthy of the name of grocery store. It has everything in it, all kinds of weird things, only things you can't think of, and nothing you can't buy. He didn't like to go out originally. After getting this grocery store, he became more and more at home. If he wanted anything, he could just buy it there. A matter of moving your fingers. Later he bought more things, and he found that he had one more authority to open a shop. Of course, opening a shop starts with a shelf. Elixirs were very popular in grocery stores, and he earned a lot of spiritual stones from them. The spiritual stones earned are used to purchase various medicinal materials needed for alchemy. Through this cycle, his alchemy skills improved unknowingly. By the time he reacted, he had become a legend in everyone's eyes, the legendary master of alchemy. The 9th to 10th level is not something that can be easily crossed, and since he has been practicing the elixir alone for so long, he feels that he needs to go out for a walk and breathe some fresh air. Although he is lazy and homely, he has been quiet and restless for a long time. With this move, he came from Qingyuan realm to Tianyuan realm. It is easy to get down but difficult to get up. Who would have expected that the Tianyuan world would be in such a situation? But once he came, he was content with it. He had a happy-go-lucky temperament, and he had always been alone. He had no one to worry about in the Qingyuan world, so he stayed in the Tianyuan world peacefully. This wait lasts for hundreds of years. Fortunately, the grocery store still follows it. Other than his cultivation being suppressed and the spiritual energy around him being so thin that it was almost non-existent, he didn't feel there was anything bad here. And he also discovered a new pleasure, reading story books. This is a secular world where mortals are the majority, and most people only have a lifespan of less than 100 years. But it is precisely because life is short that they like fantasy even more. Fantasy about talented people and beautiful women, fantasy about fame and wealth, fantasy about seeking secluded places and sightseeing, fantasy about attaining Taoism and becoming immortal. These fantasies were written by those literati, and they are particularly interesting to watch. At first he was obsessed with it for a while, and he almost forgot to eat and sleep. However, after looking at it for decades, he found that the scripts had always been written around those things, and he had long lost the original freshness. But I have developed the habit of reading storybooks. If I don't read them for a while every day, I feel like something is missing. Who makes his life really boring? As soon as he opened the grocery store interface, Yang Shengqing saw the short video playing on the home page. The braised pork above looks crystal clear and attractive. However, when he clicked in, he found that there was only something called spicy crayfish left on the shelf. Click to enter the food details page, which has the detailed process of making this dish, and it is clear what ingredients are used. Just, is that thing called crayfish really edible? He has seen this kind of thing. It usually grows in ditches or ponds in rural fields. Children use it as a toy in the summer. The red shell, the two claws, and the two claws look like there is no meat at all. Is this kind of thing really edible? Although it looks very attractive in red. Yang Shengqing decided to buy it and try it. Anyway, he couldn't eat it to death. If it tasted bad, he would never buy it from this store again. Afterwards, he was very grateful for the wise decision he had made. Because ma xiao is so delicious. It is simply the best taste in the world. He regretted the crayfish he had missed in the past. After taking the first bite, he decisively bought all the remaining kilograms of sesame seeds on the shelf. Then he sat at the desk and started eating it with relish. Xiao Qing, who had planted himself in a pot, smelled the strong fragrance of ma xiao and couldn't calm down to practice properly. She couldn't help but open her eyes. Yang Shengqing, what are you eating? Eat meat. Xiao Qing immediately lost interest. She is a delicate narcissus who eats vegetarian food. How could her pure soul be polluted by meat eating? However, the smell was so overbearing that it kept getting into her nose. She had no choice but to close off her sense of smell. Still not feeling enough, she set up a barrier around her body to block out all smells. The next day, as soon as Shenya's Hifa finished practicing, he summoned the trial manual and checked the background. She couldn't help but be shocked at this sight. In just one night, everything on the shelves was sold out. The money bag shows that her income is minus 89,070 spiritual stones. With 80,000 spirit stones in his account in one night, Shen Yazi felt that the day when he would become a rich woman was not far away. The bottom of the store page is filled with messages from customers. What kind of fairy meat is this? I love it. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 448. Every bite of meat is so fresh and tender, and contains extremely pure spiritual energy. After eating, I immediately meditated to refine the spiritual energy, and then the barrier I had been stuck in for a long time was broken. I broke through. Friends, do you believe it? Originally I just wanted to try it, but after eating it, I can no longer eat the food cooked by the chef at home. Owner, please pay me. Are you all devils? I just ate a jar of meat, but all the goods were sold out. I couldn't spend a lot of spiritual stones in my hand. The store should hurry up and bring new products. I sincerely call the store to wait for food. Shenyazi looked at these happy messages, and the curve of the corner of his mouth never fell down. In order to get new, you must get new. Shenyazi took out the inventory from the warehouse and quickly put it on the shelves. As it turns out, before she even finished putting out the goods, the ones in front of her were already sold out. Do you want it to be so fast? Thinking that all the sold goods were converted into spiritual stones and put into her purse, she hummed a tune with joy. Oh my God, it's worth it that I stayed in the shop all this time and finally got it as soon as the new one came out in the store. Oh my God, with my hand speed, which has been single for 300 years, I actually didn't get it. This spicy crayfish is highly recommended to you. It's so delicious. I didn't dare to try it yesterday, but I took a bite today. Oh my God, it's so spicy that it made me cry, but the fried chicken is really delicious, trust me. A shelf of vegetables, light up in seconds. As a vested interest, Kinkai was very happy to hear this and urged Shenyazi to open new shelves quickly. Shenyazi shook his head, there's no rush, let's wait for a while. What are you waiting for? All these lost are white and shiny spiritual stones. If things are rare and expensive, why don't you make them? No matter how delicious things are, if they can be bought at any time, what's so strange about them? The only thing is to make them anxious. Only when they are anxious can we make better money. Kinkai nodded as if he understood. Shenyazi clicked on the backstage. Has Grandmaster Yang not replied to me yet? Kinkai didn't need to answer, she had already seen it. Just as I was about to close the grocery store, a private message came in. Yang Shengqing, can you secretly sell me some spicy crayfish? I can pay a high price for them. Yang Shengqing. Is it the great master of alchemy, Yang Shengqing? Probably not. The alchemy master secretly sent her a private message asking to buy crayfish at a high price. This scene was so inconsistent that Shenyazi found it hard to imagine. But who stipulates that a great master of alchemy must be cold and unemotional? Shenyazi asked cautiously, excuse me, are you Yang Shengqing, the great master of alchemy? After asking, wait with bated breath. What kind of elixir do you want to make? As long as it's not a 10th level holy elixir, I can do it. As for the reward, I'll pay it with spicy crayfish. Shenyazi. Does he mean that any level 10 holy elixir or lower can be refined? The reward is only crayfish? Shenyazi patted his face to wake himself up. This man looks like a liar. However, does anyone dare to cheat in the name of a great master? To be on the safe side, Shenyazi decided to test it with other elixirs first. She had plenty of crayfish anyway. Really? Great. I would like to ask you to help me refine a beauty pill, can you? I will send you 10 ingredients right away. One serving is enough. Is this person a little too honest? Even if you only need one portion, you don't need to say it out loud. Can you just swallow the other 9 portions silently? However, does this also prove from the side that this is indeed a great master? Most people can't be unmoved by Jufan Dinjian Dan medicinal materials, right? Shenyazi sent the medicinal materials to Yang Shengqing. By the way, I was given 10 pounds of moss yao. She closed the page after sending it. The Dinjian pill is both a 5th level elixir. Even a great master would need a lot of time to refine it, right? While waiting, she divided the 180,000 spirit stones she earned yesterday and today with Kinkai, and then bought 10 first-order puppets. The first-level puppet has no intelligence and can only execute some simple instructions, but it is enough for her to serve as a medicine farmer, fruit farmer, and vegetable farmer. Shenyazi distributed the seeds he bought from Penglai Pavilion to Xiaosi, Xiao, and Xiaolu, and asked them to start the construction work in the space with 10 puppets. Mother, duet between Qingbao and Yuanbao. Aunt Chen. When the three Qingbaos woke up, they immediately came to look for Shenyazi. After being bored for a while, Shenyazi took them out of the space. Mom, yesterday I dreamed that Daddy was here. Qingbao grabbed Shenyazi's skirt and looked at her. Yuanbao and Nian Nian nodded. Shenyazi felt sad and funny at the same time, and scratched his nose. Your father is really here, he is outside in the stone pavilion. The three children ran out immediately. Daddy. Qingbao ran into the stone pavilion and threw himself into Gu Switting's arms, looking at his two big eyes as if there were little stars living in them. Gu Switting's heart felt soft and she kissed his fleshy little face. Shen Jiangan looked at the scene of father and son loving each other and instantly turned into lemon essence. Huh, once you have dad, you forget about grandpa. His tone was aggrieved. Qingbao was a little embarrassed and took Gu Switting's big hand to take him out. I'm going to let the fish go, can daddy go too? Shenyazi led Yuanbao and Nian Nian to the pavilion. Looking at the densely packed black and white chess pieces on the chessboard, she couldn't help but ask, Dad, Xueting, haven't you been playing since last night until now? Shen Jiangan glanced at her. Why, are you feeling distressed? Can you admit this? It must not be possible. How come? You are willing to guide Switting to play chess. It's too late for him to be happy, right? Shenyazi told Gu Switting. Gu Switting said with a smile, my father-in-law is very good at chess, and I am ashamed to say he is not as good as a boater. How about we stay here temporarily? Shen Jiangan snorted softly, okay, go ahead and spend more time with the child. Gu Switting managed to escape and was pulled all the way to the beach by Qingbao. Nian Nian floated up. Shenyazi held Yuanbao and followed slowly. She was quite looking forward to what Qingbao said about letting the fish go. I have only heard of people herding cattle and sheep, but this was my first time herding fish. After arriving at the beach, Qingbao took out the sky-swallowing bottle hanging around his neck from his collar. Everything that was originally placed in it was transferred to the small world by him, and now the sky-swallowing bottle has become his special container for raising fish. The bottle is filled with water, and the bottom of the bottle is also covered with seaweed, sand, coral bushes and rockery caves, just like a small seascape. The only fish is Xiahua. From the outside, everything in the vase seems to have shrunk, but when Qingbao poured the flowers out of the vase, Shenyazi found that the flowers had actually grown to the size of a basin. The patterns on the surface of the body are more dazzling, but it is still plump and round. I don't know how much food Qingbao has fed it in the past few days. If this trend continues, I am afraid that I will suffer from obesity in the future, right? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 449. The little flower swam happily as soon as it entered the water, blowing bubbles cutely toward the shore. Qingbao and the three also took off their clothes, wearing only a belly band and shorts, and ran towards the sea with their little feet. He also greeted Shenyazi and Gu Switting, Dad, Mom, and Dad, you guys come to play too. The little flower swam around them, splashing water with its tail to play with them from time to time. Shenyazi looked at the waves crashing over, trembling with fear. He was afraid that the three-headed little cubs would be drowned by the sea water. He quickly took off his clothes and shoes outside, rolled up his trouser legs, and walked over. Be careful, or be swept away by the waves. She wanted to catch them, but the three children ran away in a swarm, giggling. I don't know who started it first, but actually poured water on her. If Shenyazi wanted to hide, he would naturally not be splashed by them, but this was not to play with the children. It would be too boring to use magic. Under the siege of 3 people, she quickly became wet. Goose Whitting also joined in. Have you ever asked me when you bully your mother? See what you do. A large handful of water was thrown at the 3 troublemakers. The 3 children screamed and ran away. Shenyazi got a helper and began to fight back. The 2 adults acted like children, laughing and joking with the children. When Shenji Ungan saw the scene with his spiritual consciousness, a smile appeared on his face unconsciously. While eating breakfast, Shenyazi asked, "Where is my master?" Shenji Ungan was chewing a pan-fried bun and said, "He went to the immortal medical sect to vent your anger. To be precise, it's finding fault and warning." The immortal medical sect. Rong Siener was practicing in the inner room when he suddenly heard a rumbling sound coming from outside, as if the mountain peak had collapsed. The elder who is usually responsible for managing the daily affairs of the gate walked in quickly with a very ugly expression on his face. Master of the gate, a man who calls himself Zhang Lingch, broke into the gate on a red 3-headed bird and wreaked havoc everywhere. In the front hall, it has been blown up by him. None of the disciples can stop him, and now he is coming this way. Zhang Lingch. Rong Siener just stood up and came to the door, when a huge stone hit him. She waved her sleeves and used her skills to change the direction of the boulder. The boulder hit the ground hard, and a big hole was made in the fine white jade brick floor. In mid-air ahead, Zhang Lingch is sitting on the back of the 3-headed bird, sitting in a very casual posture, with one leg bent and his elbow resting on it, supporting the right side of his face. A somewhat careless smile hung on his face. The corners of his lips curled up. "Old witch Rong, you are finally willing to come out." As soon as these words came out, Rong Siener's eyes instantly flashed with murderous intent. It is true that she is not young anymore, but because she has taken the Dingian pill, her appearance has always been at the same level as when she was at her peak. No one has ever dared to ridicule her like this in front of her. However, her anger only lasted for a moment. She managed her expression very well and soon returned to her usual gentleness. She frowned slightly and said, "Young Daoist Zhang has been beating and killing you as soon as you come to your door. I don't know how my immortal medical sect has offended you." The tone was soft, more suspicious than questioning. Pretending. Zhang Lingch was disgusted when he saw her hypocritical appearance. This woman, after so many years, is still hypocritical. "Humph, you still have the nerve to ask me, don't you yourself know all the bad things your fairy doctor has done that deserve to be struck by lightning? In the past, we didn't offend the river, so you just acted like a monster on land. I didn't bother to pay attention to you, but now you dare to reach out to Arcandeo Lake. Why, are you looking at the people in Arcandeo Lake? Or do you think everyone is there? Too stupid to see your little trick." Zhang Lingch's words were merciless and he simply tore off Rong Siener's face and stamped it on the ground. Rong Siener pinched the hands in her sleeves deeply into her palms, lowering her eyes and pondering the information revealed in his words. Could it be that Fulan made a mistake? "Zhang Daiyu, what do you mean by this? The members of our immortal medicine sect have always taken doing good deeds, accumulating virtues, and benefiting the world as their own mission, and rarely have disputes with others. How come you are so unbearable in the eyes of Zhang Daiyu? Here are some of these. Isn't there some misunderstanding? Rong Siener has a pretty appearance, a sincere attitude, and her words are well founded. If Zhang Lingch hadn't known what kind of person she was, she would have been deceived by her. He was too lazy to talk to such a black-hearted woman, so he just threw the shadow stone at her. What your good disciple did was clearly recorded by this record stone. I advise you to be more honest in the future, otherwise, Zhang Lingch leaves as quickly as he comes." The 3-headed bird under the seat flapped its wings and soon turned into a small black dot and disappeared. The great elder of the place was so angry that his lips trembled. "Master, this Zhang Lingch is really bullying people. Rong Siener stared at her with his dark eyes. The great elder felt a chill in his heart and quickly lowered his head. I have my own thoughts on Zhang Ling's matter. You can go down. You must restrain the disciples below and do not tell anyone what happened today. Yes. Rong Siener took the photo stone into the inner room and opened it. What was recorded in it was clearly the conversation between Zhao Fulan and the maid, and the 2 paragraphs when the incident was revealed and he was besieged by everyone. Zhao Fulan, the young master of the immortal medicine sect, poisoned the whole city, making people mistakenly believe that there was an outbreak of plague. He wanted to wait until the people were desperate and then appear as a savior, so as to gain the love of the people. These 2 paragraphs convey this kind of message. The immortal medicine sect has carried out this kind of operation no less than 10 times in the past. If the content on this image stone is spread, it will definitely arouse the suspicion of all forces. At that time, the royal family will no longer be able to accommodate them. Idiot. If you fail to succeed, you will fail. He also left such a fatal clue. Rong Siener threw the shadow stone in her hand hard. However, the image stone is very strong and not even a corner is broken. At this moment, a man in black robe appeared quietly in the house. Master, there is news about the traitor in Yuechu. Yuechu was accidentally met by Rong Siener when she was out. At that time, she was lying in the haystack covered in blood and dying. Rong Siener took her back with her kind and compassionate character. Later, she discovered she turned out to have a rare healing spirit root, so he personally took care of her and treated her illnesses and injuries. After Yuechu woke up, she couldn't remember the past. She only remembered the word Yu in her name, so Rong Siener named her Yuechu. The beginning, the beginning. Since she has forgotten the past, she will start a new life from now on, dedicating all her life to her and the immortal medicine sect. Although Yuechu has passed the best age for cultivation, she has extraordinary qualifications and her cultivation speed is extremely fast. Under Rong Siener's guidance, she has surpassed most people in the sect in just 3 years. She also valued her very much, and resources were heavily tilted towards her. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 450. After Yuechu achieved success in her studies, Rong Siener sent her out to treat illnesses and save people, thereby accumulating a reputation. At that time, she even thought about passing the position of the young master to her in a few years. Who would have known that Yuechu accidentally overheard her conversation with the man in black robes and learned the secret behind the immortal doctor's sect helping the world and saving people? Use the plague to gain the faith of the people. This matter must not be spread. At that time, she had murderous intentions towards Yuechu, but when she thought about her qualifications and the various resources invested in her in the early stage, she hesitated. In addition, Yuechu vowed never to betray the immortal medicine sect and to serve the immortal medicine sect for the rest of his life. She let her go for the time being. But she was not completely reassured, so she secretly sent someone to keep an eye on her. After that, Yuechu's actions were all right, so she removed the people sent to monitor her. As a result, Yuechu escaped at this time. This really has been lying to her. Rong Siener immediately ordered people to search for her whereabouts. Who would have thought that she would actually run into the forbidden area behind the fairy doctor gate? In the forbidden area, there is a pool of blood, and the blood in the pool comes from babies who have just been born. There is a treasure that she accidentally obtained, the Bodhi seed, imprisoned in the pool. This is a Buddhist treasure. She originally wanted to make it recognize its owner, but she tried many methods but failed. Bodhisattva even wanted to hurt her in turn. The reason is probably that Bodhisattva's Buddha nature is too important, and she has already abandoned such useless things as kindness and compassion. If this is the case, then she will erode all its Buddha nature. So she soaked the Bodhi seeds in the purest and most evil baby blood. When Bodhisattva's Buddha nature is purified, she will naturally have a way to recognize him as his master. By then, there will be few people in the entire Tianyuan world who can be her opponent. However, she never expected that when she chased into the forbidden area, she would see blood Bodhi getting into Yuechu's body. This is a treasure that she spent countless efforts and energy to cultivate. She was about to succeed before her eyes, but in the end she was cut off by Yuechu. How could Rong Xiener not be angry or resentful? However, Yuechu's strength increased greatly after she obtained the Bodhi seed. In the end, she escaped and she was even seriously injured. After that, although she sent a large number of men to pursue Yuechu with all her strength, she was either killed or got rid of those people. More than 10 years have passed, but her whereabouts have never been found. Every time Rong Xiener thought about this incident, she would hate it and regretted that she had shown mercy to Yuechu. Fortunately, we finally found her whereabouts. Where is she? The man in black robe handed over a piece of information with both hands. While Rong Xiener was flipping through the pages, he briefly told, "My subordinates found a girl in Dan City whose appearance was very similar to that of Yuechu. After investigation, it was discovered that the girl's original name was Hanbei Aluo, and she was from Zhengrong Academy. Dean Kui Mixon recognized her granddaughter. My subordinates suspected that the girl was probably the daughter Yuechu had given birth to after he defected, so they continued to investigate along the line of Hanbei Aluo. It was finally confirmed that Yuechu was Kui Mi who disappeared 20 years ago. The daughter Kui Jing, nicknamed Yue Niang, lived anonymously in a small town in Hezu Prefecture in the southern region. She died in childbirth 16 years ago when giving birth to Hanbei Aluo." Rong Xiener flipped through the thick pile of information in his hand. On this, all aspects of Hanbei Aluo's information are recorded, as small as what he ate and how many times he went to the toilet in a day. Hanbei Aluo. Rong Xiener stared at the portrait of the paper. She looked exactly like Yuechu. Yuechu is dead, so the Bodhisattva is very likely to be in her daughter. Go and bring Hanbei Aluo back to me. Remember, he must be alive. Rong Xiener ordered. I thought about it but felt uneasy, that's all, I'd better go there myself. This time, she will never allow the Bodhisattva to fall into the hands of others again. At this moment, the door of the room was banged open with a bang. Master. Zhao Fulan couldn't hold on any longer and rolled off the flying carpet, feeling miserable. The man in black robe in the inner room instantly turned into a plume of black smoke and disappeared. Rong Xiener walked out with a sullen face, but the moment she saw Zhao Fulan, her expression changed drastically. Fulan, who hurt you like this? At this time, Zhao Fulan was covered in blood, her legs were missing from the knees down, her face was pale, her hair was messy, and her body was scarred with some kind of sharp weapon, which made her look miserable. It is completely different from the fairy image when I left. Rong Xiener almost didn't recognize that this was his apprentice. Zhao Fulan climbed up and grabbed her skirt, with deep-seated resentment and hatred in his eyes. It's Shen Yizi. Master, you must avenge me. After saying this, the breath she was holding on forcibly dissipated and she fainted to the ground. Rong Xiener frowned and carried her into the inner room, placed her on the bed, and checked her injuries. He was actually injured like this by the space blade. This is trickier. If it is an ordinary sword, apply medicine on the wound, and the wound will heal naturally after a period of time. But where the space blade hurt, a piece of flesh and blood was missing out of thin air, and it was extremely difficult to grow it back. The injuries on his body are just fine, the key is those 2 legs. Unless she can take the good fortune pill, which can reshape a person, or the regeneration pill, which can regenerate a broken limb, she will only be in the future. But the creation pill and the rebirth pill are both high-level pills. Not to mention in the Tianyuan world where alchemists are scarce and have thin spiritual energy, they are also extremely rare in the Qingyuan world. Rong Xiener sat on the bedside, looking at the pale disciple who was in a coma, with cold eyes without much worry and concern. This apprentice has excellent appearance and qualifications. Most importantly, he has a kind face and a vicious heart, which is very consistent with the purpose of the immortal medicine sect. She has contributed a lot to the immortal medicine sect's current momentum. It can be said that this is the most satisfactory apprentice she has received so far. It's just bad luck. As soon as I went out, I encountered a tough problem. Shenyazi, why do you think this name is so familiar? I seem to have seen it somewhere. By the way, the intelligence just now said that Shenyazi and Hanbei Alogo have a very good relationship. I just don't know if the two Shenyazi are the same person. If so, it would be better to leave Hanbei Alogo's matter to Fulan. When Zhao Fulan woke up, he found himself lying in the holy pool in the back mountain. The water in the holy pool has a beautiful light pink color. It is a medicinal solution prepared by Rong Sienna from hundreds of precious medicinal materials such as purple river card, baby fruit, and thousand-year-old snow lotus. Very effective in beautifying the skin, removing scars, and healing wounds. On weekdays, she would come here to take a dip whenever she had something to do. Zhao Fulan has also had the honor of taking medicinal baths here several times. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw the baby fruit tree growing next to the holy pool.